Hello everybody, Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. I'm going to do a video for you tonight. I think I'll call it Finding the Shooter. And I have a Facebook post I'm going to show you in a minute where I laid out the evidence, so it's not based on my word. And I think this very solid leads here. I believe my top suspects for the shooter or the would-be killer are the 7 secret police that got caught on camera at my house after the murder attempt, which I had to offer a reward for, the $2,000 reward, and it took 6 years to get them identified. Okay, I mean, and that's pretty easy to see that these are not upright, good citizens. That these are dirty cops. That's what they are, dirty cops. And I suspect one of them is the shooter, aka would-be killer. They were under my home, and they're the ones that pointed their gun at me and pulled the trigger and shot me by surprise, and then waited for me to die. Okay, but which one? Okay, so the Facebook post that I'm gonna look at tonight, or that I'm going to show you here in a minute, is asking if, actually I'll just read this part to you. It says, one of the secret police quit the police force the week of the protective order hearing. Maybe Matt Davis was the shooter. Okay, the protective order hearing was in December 2013. I was shot in January 2012. Okay, and that protective order hearing was a mockery of justice, is what it was. I got served with a subpoena for this protective order from the ex-wife who's alleged to be involved in the shooting, okay, by her former boyfriend, and I hadn't seen or talked to her in a year and a half, and she lived in Lubbock 100 miles away. A protective order is supposed to protect a person from another person that's threatening them. I hadn't seen her, talk to her in a year and a half. She lives 100 miles away. It was absurdity all the way through. But what they did was go in there and go, he's crazy, he takes people in the attic, and well, people are in the attic, now there's 50 other homeowners reporting people in the attic, so that's what happened, and then I ended up getting a lifetime protective order. There was a lot of things that come out in the protective order hearing that I felt like were incriminating, and one of them was a conversation with the ex-wife's former boyfriend, Arthur Welch, who had told me that he believed she had a lot to do with the shooting from the things that she had said, and that she had threatened to have him killed too. That's pretty big stuff right there. I'm gonna show you that. It was actually read in court. And then right after that protective order hearing in December 2013, which was almost 2 years after the murder attempt, one of the secret police, Matt Davis, quits the police department. He doesn't retire, right? He was only with them for like 12 years and always didn't quit, so he don't get pension, nothing, And I wondered if something had come out, his supervisors had figured out that he had a part in this premeditated home invasion, capital attempted murder that left a citizen crippled, a citizen that was reporting crimes to the police, reporting repeated burglaries, that they figured out that Davis had some part of it, and then they forced him to retire. Maybe Davis was the shooter. Let me show you the evidence. Okay, I posted this earlier, and that's what I read to you a minute ago. One of the secret police quit the police force the week after the protective order hearing. Maybe Matt Davis was the shooter. Okay, and so that was my opening comment. And then I followed that up here on this one right here, and I said his LinkedIn page showed that he quit the Midland Police Department in December 2013, but I knew he was still there on December 17, 2013, because he printed off reports that were subpoenaed. The hearing was on December 18, 2013, and I wondered if his supervisors figured out that he was involved in the premeditated murder attempt on my life due to evidence that had came out in court, such as the ex-wife's former boyfriend, who said that he believes she had a lot to do with the shooting and that she threatened to have him killed too. So here I went on the internet and I found that Matt Davis right there. This is from LinkedIn, and what I saw here, I knew it was him because it said Sergeant Detective Officer, City of Midland, and from August 2001 to December 2013. And Davis printed off subpoenaed police reports for the protective order hearing on December 17, 2013, and that protective order hearing was on December 18th. So sometime between December 18th and then the next year, January 2014, which is about 10 days, that was when Davis quit the police department. As I mentioned, it looks like he used to be in Dumas too. I thought that was interesting. Okay, But so I'm gonna go here. And so then there's that's what I said earlier. I wonder why Matt Davis all of a sudden quit his job right after the protective order here. Okay, so let me hit the next comment. The police report for the night of the murder attempt, which was illegally withheld for 7 years, showed me that Sergeant Matt Davis had called my ex-wife twice at 11:42 p.m. I had been seen crawling out an hour earlier at 10:42 p.m. I wondered if they were working together, Matt Davis and my ex-wife. And what I did is I took the police report that I didn't get till 2019. Remember, I'm shot. It was created in 2012, but it was illegally withheld for 7 years because it had incriminating evidence. It timestamped police officers inside my home that wasn't seen arriving on the cameras, which told me they came from under my home. And so here I just parsed out everything that had Davis, and what I was seeing, he was one of the first ones dispatched to the 7-Eleven, okay? And I was saying that he's the one that started the information report, okay? He's one of the first ones at my home, it listed here. But the big thing, what I'm making a point of, per 2862, which is Matt Davis tried to contact the ex-wife on previous calls at location, no answer with 2 attempts. Okay, so he was trying. So I mean, that's made me wonder, because we were separated at the time. I had filed divorce 5 days before that, and I wonder, how did you know my ex-wife, and if they were working together. Okay, and so here's my next comment. I said this was messages between myself and the ex-wife's former boyfriend in 2012, and it was read in court on December 18, 2013. The protective order here. Matt Davis quit the police department right after this. Also shown here was my life insurance books that the ex-wife had taken from my home a few weeks before the murder attempt, which showed that if the police ruled my murder an accident, then it would add an additional $500,000 to the life insurance payout, which for accidental death. But the big prize was a special home because of the $1 million underground home in the backyard, and the crimes related to that. I got a feeling it's a moneymaker. So here on the bottom, this was read in court at the protective order here, and I wonder if this wasn't the reason that his supervisor Matt Davis says you need to quit. They figured it out that she was connected. And so here, Arthur Welch is the one that wrote this, and he asked me, he says, do you think the ex-wife had anything to do with the shooting? I dated her for a short time here in Lubbock, and she threatened to have me killed. And I wrote back and I said, well, I think she was in Lubbock at the time, but I think she knows who did, And Arthur writes back and says, well, I think she had a lot to do with it from the things that she'd said, okay? And so I have a copy of that. This was 10/5/12 is when Arthur, and I didn't know this man, he just contacted me. He had heard that I had been shot, and he was dating the ex-wife over in Lubbock, and so he went out of his way to let me know. Very, very kind and nice thing to do, and the right thing to do. And I also included the life insurance here. This is right from my 2012 books, and that's what it showed her when she took these without my knowledge. She took these from my house, the life insurance books. My sister-in-law saw them with her. So Mitzi Webb is a witness that the ex-wife did take these books. But it showed the basic accidental death was 2 times annual base pay, which is around $200,000, and then a supplemental accidental death is another $250,000. So altogether, we're talking about an extra $500,000 if my murder is ruled an accident. And then we have police that are tampering with evidence and lying on police reports, and it looks like police that shot me because they were under my home, and somebody under my home shot me. Okay, so. I don't know if they were planning on splitting the money or what, but that's what it, kind of looks like. Here's my next comment. And Arthur Welch posted this last year, okay? And that was 2020. Remember when this first one that was read in court was 2012. So 8 years later, Arthur posts this to his Facebook, and he tagged me. So that's how I found out, because it goes, ding, Arthur Welch tagged you in a post. And I went and looked at it, and here's Arthur Welch. He says, cops were recorded hiding evidence and laughing about this man being shot. I was dating this guy's ex-wife when I overheard her talking, and from the things I heard, she tried to have him killed for insurance money. And to hear how many police were involved. One, her longtime personal friend, that was Rosa Rodriguez, is who he's referring to. I won't let Buddy Wayne Webb be laughed at. Her final words to me was, "I will have you shot too." Okay, so all them years and Arthur's stories never changed, and so I'm gonna move on to the next one. The police report, the one that was illegally withheld for 7 years, I didn't get till 2019, also showed that Sergeant Davis was at my home at 11:03 p.m. when he wasn't seen arriving on the cameras that saw Woodward and Naylor 2 minutes earlier at 11:01 p.m. Lieutenant Dickey was inside my home at 11:05 p.m. and I wondered if Davis was with Dickey, as it's believed Dickey entered my home from the now removed trap door from where I was ambushed and shot. He was also not seen arriving to my home. Dickey didn't quit the police department, but Davis did. Okay, and I want to show you here on this one, which I put this together because this is just copied and pasted from the police report. That's what the police report looks like. And I just took their unit numbers and put their names out here so I knew what was happening at what minute. And you can see on scene Matt Davis at 11:03. Okay, and then backers are called here, and then at 11:05 Tony Dickey says no one in the house, lots of odd things like booby traps, which was a lie that Dickey made, and he should have been fired for that lie because there's no booby traps in evidence. There was no booby traps. If there was, it'd be in evidence, and so it was these police lied. But more than that, Dickey or Davis, actually it was Chatwell, Angel, and Hale. So there was 5 police officers, Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale, time-stamped being at my home or inside my home, and they wasn't seen arriving on the security cameras that saw Woodward and Naylor. And I say Woodward, that's Martin County Sheriff John Woodward is seen arriving at 11:01. Okay, and then following him was Midland Sheriff Deputy Mike Naylor, and that's the late Midland Sheriff Deputy Mike Naylor. He's no longer alive. So them two showed up, and they were seen on camera at 11:01, and then 2 minutes later, Davis is listed on the police report as being at my home, and he ain't seen arriving on the camera. Well, how can that be, buddy? How can that be is they come in from the trap door the ex-wife had told me about, and from where I was shot from. Absolute undeniable evidence shows I wasn't shot from my gun, so we know somebody under my home shot me, and multiple people are documented saying underground homes and tunnels are here, including Google Maps showing a big old building in my backyard you can't see from above ground. So that's where it's believed that these police, Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, and Angel Dale, I believe some kind of party was going on in the underground home in the backyard. That's where they have the oil show parties. Actually, the ex-wife had told me in so many words there were a lot of people here on the night that I was shot. So that's what I want to show you. I was showing you here that Davis was actually listed at my house before Dickey. I always point out Dickey because Dickey was inside my home and he wasn't seen arriving that saw Woodward and Naylor. And I think Dickey, Lieutenant Dickey, was the one that let out the burglar that was trapped in the bathroom, and they might have used that as excuse to try to murder me. That I trapped this burglar that was committing a felony, the burglary of a habitation. I've been reporting repeated burglaries to my home to the police, and it looks like these police are working with the burglars that are breaking in the house. And that explains why they never arrested anybody. And then when I trapped a burglar, then they just, decided to kill me. This video I was trying to figure out which one was the shooter. Okay, so I want to show you that I figured Davis and Dickey, they came to my house together from underneath my house. Okay, and so I'm suspecting one of them was the shooter. Okay. In November 2019, Matt Davis commented on my YouTube channel and said, "Buddy, I stole the evidence and nobody will ever find out." I believe this was a reference to the voice recorder that I'd told the police about at the hospital, which had recorded the burglar alarms going off before I was ambushed and shot. It was found and then stolen by the police, but later checked in when I made a big deal of the police stealing evidence that I told them about in a capital attempted murder. Hope you got that. We're going to go over that a little bit more. But this is print screens where Matthew Davis on the YouTube, I put the URL there so it could be verified, and we get the IP address, and we go back and go, yep, that is Matt Davis, and yeah, it looks like it's him. And he says, "I stole the evidence and nobody will ever find out, buddy." And I sent this, of course, to the sheriff sheriff and the Texas Rangers, but that's been my problem. It's not an evidence problem. It's this huge public corruption problem where I can't find any law enforcement that seems to not be dirty. You know, it looks like they're all covering up for each other. And, you know, and then here it's very serious. You know, if we had a police officer tried to murder a citizens, you know, from under their home or whatever, and it looks like they're trying to cover it up no matter what the evidence. This was posted on a video called Walmart Underground Facility. You can go see that to this day on my YouTube channel. Okay. What evidence did Matt Davis steal? And I'm going to show you that. At 12:03 a.m. on the night of the murder attempt, the ER nurse documented me telling the police, "Proof is at my home. Just go look. I have proof." This proof was this voice recorder that was found by April Chandler and then went missing. It was only checked in it was checked in as evidence many months after the murder attempt, when I made a point of police stealing evidence to cover up a capital attempted murder. These are the nurse's notes, and it's time stamped, okay? And you know, here sirens are going off. The alarms kept going off. The burglar alarms in my attic kept going off. Now there's 50 other homeowners documenting, reporting people in the attic. That's a big deal, right? But here at 12:03, okay, on the night that I'm shot, here, and this is the nurse writing what I'm telling, you know, Detective Rodriguez, who was in the room at the time, says, "I was talking on a white voice recorder in case something happens to me and say what they're doing in my house. I have proof. Just go look. There is proof." Okay, that voice recorder had recorded them burglar alarms going off. It proved I was shot during a home invasion, that there was people in my house when I'd shot. I'd been reporting repeated burglaries to my house. By the time I was shot, I'd contacted the police, the Texas Rangers, and the FBI about the crimes at my home. And of course, when I bought this home, the previous homeowner just died. I sincerely believe he was murdered before I got here. Okay, and then and I want to show you here. This is kind of important. Is on the same minute, the nurse documents Detective Rodriguez has patient's necklace and stated she was going to give it to his brother. Okay, he didn't know anything about that, but anyway, and here's the badge number. You know, has patient's belongings and gets her badge number down. And you know, I think the nurse sensed that you know, something was fishy and something wrong with that detective, and that's why she was documenting it. What it did was document me telling Rodriguez that about that voice recorder. The proof was at my house. Just go look. It's proof. Okay, that proof was stolen. Okay, that's the big deal. Rookie police officer. She was rookie then. You know, I got a feeling she's been promoted for you know, helping cover up these capital crimes. But either way, rookie police officer April Chandler stated on a police report, Buddy had a .22 rifle in the bedroom by the bed that was taken for safekeeping and logged into MPD evidence, as well as a single-shot revolver and the voice recorder from the closet. Okay, so in the police report, Chandler said she found my voice recorder, the proof that I told him was there. But when I got the evidence logs from the police department, I saw that the voice recorder had not been checked into evidence. That was why I made a big point of the police stealing evidence that I told them about, okay? And you know, and so right off the bat, Chandler lied. She falsified a police report. You know, that's a crime. That's a felony, okay? As seen here, Sergeant Matt Davis checked in the guns that Chandler said she found with my voice recorder, but he didn't check in the voice recorder. I suspected that Chandler gave these items to her supervisor, Sergeant Matt Davis, and he stole it. That is the evidence he was talking about when he wrote me on YouTube. I'm going to show you here. Okay, this is a picture from the camera in my bedroom that they tried to disable. Okay, and so there's April Chandler with her hand in the booty bag. You know, that's where they were putting the stolen evidence. Okay, and here's Rosie Rodriguez, and she's got a camera in her hand there, and this is time stamped at 3:46 a.m. and that's later that night after I'm in surgery at that time. You know, and barely survived this murder attempt. Okay, and then the top section was the nurse's notes I already read to you. You know, time stamped at 12:03, and then here is Chandler's record, okay, and this is from the police report, official government document. It said Buddy had a .22 rifle, and I read that to you, right? And as well as the voice recorder from the closet. So Chandler found the proof that I told the detective about, but the evidence logs didn't show no voice recorder. But what happened, Matt Davis, Sergeant Matt Davis, he checked in the two 22 guns that Chandler had also found with the voice recorder, but no voice recorder. And that's why I'm thinking, yeah, but even before I got that message on YouTube from Matt Davis telling me he stole the evidence, I was already suspecting Matt Davis had stole the evidence based on that evidence right there, okay? In 2019, and keep in mind this is 7 years after a murder attempt, I sent an information request in the city of Midland asking to see the voice recorder that Chandler said she found, knowing that it wasn't in the evidence logs in 2013, 2 years after the murder attempt. But to my surprise, they sent me this report, which shows that somebody had scribbled out one piece of evidence and hand wrote in voice recorder. I suspect this was done right before Matt Davis quit the police department in December 2013, which was almost 2 years after the murder attempt, okay? And so here is that updated evidence and property report right here, okay? And I want to show you how they scribbled out this whole, okay, which was this piece of evidence, item number 4, that, you know, that was there in 2013, 2 years after the murder attempt. It was a whole, but all of a sudden they scribbled it out and they just hand wrote in 12-gauge shotgun shell and one voice recorder. Ain't that amazing, okay? And then you see where the voice recorder here shows to be checked in by April Chandler, okay? And then the other thing here was Matt Davis has my keys, so I'm suspecting Matt Davis was connected with coming to my home, and when they filled in the trap door, you know, they covered it up while I was in the hospital from where I was shot. Matt Davis had the keys, and I suspected he was involved in that. And then these spent shotgun shells, that was another, you know, that's not part of this story, but I had already noticed that the CSI who picked up my gun, Marty Barrett, checked in the 4 live shells that were in my gun, but he didn't check in an empty shell. And just like the voice recorder, I made a big point of that because that proved I wasn't shot with my gun, proving somebody else had shot me from under my home. Well, I made a point of it, so they scribbled out one piece of evidence, just wrote it in, you know. Oh, I'll just write that in 2 years later, you know. And there you go. That's what they did. 2 years later, they write it in once you find evidence that they're involved in this tampering with evidence in capital attempted murder, okay? And so, I wanted to show you that I think that law enforcement should be investigate this, see which one of these secret police was, the shooter, the would-be killer. Because it looks like, I highly suspect whoever tried to murder me also murdered the guy that lived here before me, Mike Lawhon, and then they murdered that little girl at the 2010 oil show party that Angie told me about. That just makes sense. And then Aaron Packerholt asked me if I knew the names of the 4 people who had been murdered, died in my house. And who would be my top suspect for them? Right here. It looks like police are involved in these crimes. But then you take this evidence to the sheriff and the Texas Rangers, the FBI, DHS, everybody's covering it up, and here they're just checking, as far as I'm concerned, they're just checking life insurance books, killing homeowners, and stealing property. And, this has got to be stopped. This is Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.